Well, I, for one, never expected the UK government to create an educational visual novel and leering experience teach to teach kids about the dangers of extremist ideology. Okay, look, I know the topic's been beaten to death, but I felt compelled to make a video putting the rubbish in the bin, as they say, as I think everyone should, because setting precedents like this isn't a slippery slope, it's a sheer fucking cliff. I don't know much about the UK's situation personally, but I do watch people who discuss it, whom I find entertaining, but that also means they generally align with my thoughts, which means it's only part of the story. Also, I watch YouTubers with the understanding that they produce videos likely for the same reason I do, which isn't because I'm an expert on the topic, but to express how I feel in a format longer and more intelligible than a short video. That's called common sense, by the way. Something Charlie, the protagonist of Pathways, is not allowed to have, because common sense makes you a radical criminal. I'm guessing anyone who might listen to this has already seen Pathways or watched someone else play it or whatever, so you already know what's what. The UK is trying to smother the right wing in its crib by teaching kids that conservatives are evil. That it's bad to have individuality and a thought process. That every single thing on the internet that shows a negative view on the British government is a complete lie, a statement made by dangerous illegal groups, and that listening to or engaging with it will make you the same, and that they will monitor you and even arrest you for it. It's clear that they make no effort to explain anything, as their very explanation could be a metaphorical gateway drug for kids. As a foreigner, I think it comes across as them attempting to incriminate patriotism by insinuating that it's all extremisms derived from being a dangerous xenophobic racist, as it seems like they're ashamed of what made Britain Britain. Which, I mean, yeah, there's some bad stuff. Like a lot of it. But every country has that. And Britain's done a lot of good as well. Being honest about what your ancestors did is better than being some revisionist twat. Twat? It's twat. It's twat, right? Am I allowed to say that on YouTube? Or as a male? As an American? God, I don't even know. Well, anyway, you play as a college student who has an IQ lower than a 10 of... What do the English keep in tens? Corned beef? Whatever. You play as an adult. That's important. An adult with no critical thinking skills, and you need to ask your mommy what to do if someone sends you a link to downloading a video on the internet. Like, that's actually one of the choices. Rather, it's the correct choice. Ask mommy. Weird to make the player character old enough to consent to sex, get married, have and raise their own children, vote, work, or fight and die in the military, and yet the questions presented seem to be aimed at... who was the target audience again? Oh, don't tell me. We all know. You are rewarded or punished based on your answers, and everything is worded in such a sinister way as to make disagreeable ideologies objectively bad. You're a college student playing not Minecraft, who's never seen a video on the internet before, and people are saying things that seem, quote, off, or even so far as to say, again, literal quote, slightly concerning. Are you fucking kidding me? Do you have any idea what kids actually do on the internet? And it's not a big step to go from the government creating pathways to the government disallowing you from playing a video game at all because it might promote dangerous ideas. Well, one of those sinister representations of ne'er-do-wells is Amelia. Also, I like the term ne'er-do-well, and I'm going to start using it more. Also, I'm pretty sure the Merriam-Webster definition of it is wrong, just like with kidnapped. Anyway, Charlie, the protagonist, scored low and didn't get a job, but a brown girl scored an 80 and instantly got a job because the UK is apparently a meritocracy, so the young, hot, gothy e-girl Amelia blames Charlie's low score on the immigrant. First of all, are you really going to think the young, pretty, white alternative girl is right-wing? I mean, it's possible, sure, but why would that be your pick? Deflection, right? It's deflection. Because if you made them a white guy, it'd be too on the nose, right? Well, that backfired spectacularly. Secondly, why would you approach someone you don't know and blame their bad test score on immigration? More to the point, why would Charlie do that? They had a literal test. That scored them, proving that it was their own brain that was the problem. Sure, there are people who blame everything on other people, and it's becoming annoyingly normal, but when you have an actual test score proving your inability, this deflection is as unlikely as Amelia being right-wing. It would have been smarter to blame the teacher playing favorites, as the teacher is representative of the state, but The teacher is never represented in anything but a completely holy light, as the government wouldn't want to suggest negativity towards their educational institutions, who definitely never falsify scores and never do anything bad and get away with it because they're women. Like I said, I've watched some British YouTubers, and I don't take a YouTuber for an expert, but the existence of this leering experience sure lends a hefty amount of credibility to their beliefs. Based on this, it seems like you either say what the UK government wants to hear, or you're labeled as an ideologue, which is actually one of the dangers you can refer friends and family over. I mean, what the hell? The fact that they have this prevent thing set up to stop mind crime before it happens is totally insane. If your people were happy, maybe they wouldn't want to protest or do something violent. The fact that you can't make them happy, you're not even trying to make them happy, and are instead threatening to convict them as a terrorist if they watch a video, which they don't even give any examples of, seems to be very telling of the UK government's intent. By my measurement, this is a 3-for-1 special. An intelligence network not only to monitor citizens, but also to indoctrinate their citizens and encourage them to tattle on anyone who might have ideas of their own so that the government can re-educate the offenders. It makes a lot of the rhetoric about the USA seem like a joke in comparison, doesn't it? And what exactly would you even watch that will have you convicted as a terrorist? I mean, what does that mean? There's no examples of this. Watching something violent or hateful doesn't mean that you agree with it. This is just straight up mind policing. Everyone is accusing everyone else of all of these things because they have no logical defense for their own stupid beliefs. But at the end of the day, thoughts are not crimes. It doesn't matter what it is, it's just a thought. You do not want to live in the world of Minority Report. You really, really don't. Sure, okay, it's not like this is UK specific. Societal conditioning exists for countless activist movements, plenty of which you can see right now. It's intrinsic to any religion, and in one way or another is performed by every government. But Pathways is a special kind of gross. It's the difference between a person looking up your skirt and Frank Reynolds looking up your skirt. Okay, yeah, alright, it's bad either way, but if I were to compare it to Turning Point USA, and I'm not saying Turning Point USA is some welcomed thing comparatively to Pathways, but at least it feels like TPUSA has a modicum of respect for the people they want to indoctrinate. There's an air of positivity and solidarity surrounding it, whereas Prevent appears to be the government asking you to rat on your social circle if you believe they are enemies of the state. Pathways is bleak and depressing. It doesn't invite you, it threatens you. It feels like the King of England snuck into my room at night, placed headphones on me, and played Findom ASMR as I slept. Sorry, Henry. I've never seen someone fail a stealth and speech check as hard as this before. And at the core of this leering experience, it seems like it's designed with the intent to brainwash British children into thinking Britain has always been the way it is now. This revisionist history nonsense is coming from the people who incessantly accuse others of trying to revise history, from the people who constantly dig up history, constantly blame you for things that your ancestors did. The only explicit political message in this entire leering experience, as I recall anyway, is about how great immigration is, and how you're a racist if you think otherwise. This is the exact same rhetoric the Democrats of other nations use, though I'm unsure if any are as stupid as leftists claiming white people don't belong in the USA. Well, I hate to burst your bubble, Starmer, but you aren't going to win a real-world game of civilization with a culture victory. You're going to lose it. Is it really so surprising that citizens of countries like the UK and the USA are finding issue with having an open border policy for decades? Is the UK government really explaining to young children this incredibly important political issue by analogizing it to a fictional college student with a kumquat for a brain, scoring poorly on a test, and then getting angry about it? Isn't that ironically deflective of the truth? Well, I can't speak for the UK, of course, but I suspect it's a lot like the USA in this regard. And if it was our people fleeing en masse to Madagascar or Saudi Arabia, I would bet they'd feel the same as we do. It's simply human nature. Pattern recognition, combined with social awareness and common sense, results in people actively or subconsciously seeking out those who are like them, be it color, gender, religion, culture, hobbies, etc., etc. That doesn't make you prejudice. It doesn't mean you're against having a friend or a spouse of a different color. It just means that media has understandably conditioned you to believe that you're different from them and that you may not share the same beliefs. Our media brainwashes us constantly and how we think about other demographics, as can be seen in the recent deposition of Dr. Verma.
Again, the reason I paused there is I'm not really sure what the goal of the
The
question?
goal is just to establish a biological reality. You just said a moment ago that science and evidence should control, not politics. So let's just test that proposition. Can men get pregnant?
I take care of people with many identities.
Even without the explicit creation of media brainwashing us, there are still a notable amount of extremists on social media infecting things with their idiotology. I like this thing from Warhammer. Oh, but it doesn't represent me. It needs to represent me, and everyone has to accept and respect that, or else they're an evil person. You know, that kind of mentality. And for the record, I'm a Warhammer tourist. I played the MMO, I played Vermintide, I played some of the RTS games. I enjoy it, I like it, but it's not my identity, and it doesn't need to change to represent me. We're conditioned to be different from each other, by ourselves. It's unavoidable. You have preconceptions regarding everything, from gender to height to religion to disabilities, all trained by Hollywoods, music, social media, etc. Some of this could be controlled, but most of it is unavoidable. You cannot change your DNA, so you'll always be left assuming things about other people. But what Pathways aims to do is avoidable. They are actively censoring and censuring their own populace, forcing them to accept modern ideals inspired by social media Karens. I find it truly fascinating how these tiny countries are diving headlong into this abyss, and I can't guess the outcome of it. I'm totally stumped. There is a very big difference between the USA and European countries, which is that the USA is very big. Discounting Alaska and Hawaii, the whole of Europe's landmass is only very slightly larger than the USA itself, and that's, again, just the contiguous states. Yet, despite the size of the USA, we still have very notable situations of large enclaves forming, revolving around language, race, or religion, most likely all three. Now imagine this in a much smaller place like England. I can't. I've heard, albeit through YouTubers, so I'm unsure how true it is, that entire towns in the UK have basically been taken over by foreigners. Karens will say that's racist, but countries didn't magically pop up out of the ground. They were taken through blood, sweat, and tears. Real tears, not TikTok Karen trad wife ice chaser tears. I don't hate anyone, except Karens, but there's always going to be exploitative people. If you want to play ultra communist, if a country offers their land freely to take, others will take it, and they will make it their own, and they will guard it jealously. Well, as fun as it is to beat a dead horse, I think it's time to wind this down. I was very harsh with this, and not because it's classifying me as an extremist. Leftists, they make everything about racism, so for the record, I'm not anti-immigration. It's too much to go into detail, but I'm obviously against illegal immigrants, though some people aren't, and I'm also against easily exploited humanitarian policies, because I have no faith in humans. I am aware that the UK is diverse AF and has many people who are not white and are proper citizens who act properly, which is all most people ask for. I did try to look at this through the lens of someone as naive as Charlie, but there's a problem there as well. Charlie's an adult, and this is clearly intended to indoctrinate children. Everything in here is vague, and they can't be explicit with anything because they can't teach children about violence. So they don't really teach them anything besides don't engage with the internet, basically. And I can see some warped reality where the goal of prevent isn't deliberately insidious, and this is just the misguided notions of some bleeding heart, but going off the phrasing and the messaging and pathways, including the epilogue, they took every opportunity to suggest that having self-agency made you a criminal, needing to be re-educated and bombarded with positivity so that your morality slider goes back towards green. Brits, let's just say that despite everything you've seen on media, the USA isn't yet a smoldering ruin, and green cards are still pretty easy to get. Wink, wink. Anyway, thanks for watching.